In order that we may broadcast today's World Series game, the following sponsors have relinquished their usual time. Manhattan Mother, sponsored by American Family Soap, will be heard today only at 4 p.m. Houseboat Hannah, sponsored by Lava Soap, today at 4:15 p.m. Kitty Keene Incorporated, sponsored by Dreft, today at 4:30 p.m. Meet the Missus, sponsored by Kitchen Cleanser, at 5 p.m. And Hal Tate, your radio tattler, sponsored by the Evans Fur Company, this evening at 8:15.
Dean for the Cubs, and Vernon Lefty Gomez for the Yankees. The Yankees call Mr. Gomez Goofy, and he likes it. The Cubs players refer to Mr. Dean as Old Beers, and he likes it. Those two fellows are popular with their own mates. They're both idolized by the fans, Gomez by the fans of New York, and Dean by the fans of Chicago. When Gomez steps out on the mound in a few minutes, he's going to have an ambition there to tie one World Series record and to establish a new one. In his career so far, Lefty Grove has pitched 5 and won 5 games in the Big Fall Classic. He was with the Yanks in the series of 32, and he pitched and won 1 game. And in 1936, he pitched and won 2 games, and last year he pitched and won 2. The record for winning World Series games in 6, and it's held jointly by Chief Bender of the Old Time Athletics and by Wade Hoyt of the Yankees of some 12 to 15 years ago, when they first began to assert themselves as a great power team. No other pitchers in the history of the big series have won 6 games, but Gomez would tie that record if he should win today. And then he has a chance to set a new record for the fall show if he should win, because his standing as a World Series pitcher would then be the highest percentage of them, because by winning today, he would make it still stronger. Make it a new record, because if he wins, he will have gained 6 World Series records and will not have lost a game. His record would be 6-1 and nothing lost then. The other boys, Bender and Hoyt, who have tabbed up 6 victories, have been charged at least with 1 defeat apiece. Now, Dizzy Dean's World Series experience until this year has been limited to 1 fall classic, that of 1934, when he was with the Cardinals and they played the Detroit Tigers. But Dizzy was the outstanding figure of that series and was on the mound in the 7th and deciding game when the Cards beat the Tigers and won the World's Championship. And that, by the way, is the last time that the National League was victorious in the Classic. And old Diz was credited with 2 victories in that series. And there are fans today in Chicago and in St. Louis and in many other cities who believe that Dizzy is the man who has about just what it takes to beat the Yankees. Of course, we're going to be able to tell you more about that in a couple of hours from now. Right now, we have the park filling up. Actually, hundreds of fans are milling around and being handled very nicely, as we told you yesterday, by Andy Frain's ushers, who point out the seats and then reach for the next set of tickets. Practically everyone in the park is doing today what they did yesterday. They're standing up in the lower deck. In the upper deck, most of them are seated because they simply have to sit there and look down and see what's going on in the field. The Yankees at the present time are taking their fielding practice. Of course, later on, John Harrington is going to tell you what's going on as far as lineups and things of that sort are concerned. The wind today is not blowing from the north as it did yesterday. It's blowing from the north and east. That means that a ball hit toward center field will be blown back toward second base. A ball hit toward right field will be blown over toward the right field line. A ball hit toward center field, left field with any sort of a carry on it, should come back toward third base. It's a wind blowing in from the northeast off the lake. The temperature is around something like 52, according to the last we heard. We're not interested in the temperature as we are in seeing 2 teams get hot. Dizzy Dean is warming up for the Cubs, and Lefty Gomez, a left-hander, is warming up for the team known as the Yankees, the Bone Crushers from New York. Throws are being made in from the outfield down toward the home plate for the outfielders who have been out there in this fielding practice, and now we're having that fielding practice, too, making the throws. Selkirk is just making 1 throw down toward the home plate now, and instead of throwing the ball in full distance like a lot of people do, he's a smart baseball player, and he throws the ball in on a hop. The ball gets down to home plate or any other plate faster if you shoot it on a hop. There was a very bad throw just made by DiMaggio, the ball coming off to the left of the plate. That's why he's out there practicing, to get his eye. This time he makes the peg with the wind back of him, and the ball comes a lot closer. No bounce to it, though, but right straight into the plate. They're shooting another one to him to drive him off to the left a little bit. He mixes the ball and finally picks it up to make his peg toward home plate. The colors are being assembled, and there seems to be a march starting on out in center field with the same band of American Legionnaires that was here yesterday. Of course, there will not be any seats so far as I know. That's simply my guess, because it's my understanding that all the grandstand seats and the other seats, the box seats, were sold out. If anybody can go out there and find themselves a spot in the grandstand, they're a better man than I am, because they're going to have to get up there and wedge themselves in with a shoehorn. Now, it's the same kind of an overcast day it was yesterday, with the exception of the fact that the clouds seem to be more solidly banked and are not the dark, scuttling clouds that were there yesterday coming in from the north and west. The wind, as I told you, is off the lake, coming in from the north and east, from the scoreboard right down toward center field, and then over second base toward home plate. The clouds are a little lighter, and there seems to be a little more light out here than there was yesterday. Now, when manager Hartnett announced last night that Dean was going to be the pitcher today, there wasn't a bit of nervousness on the part of Diz. Instead, we understand that a great big grin came over his face. He was happy about it. He's that kind of a fellow. He has the competitive spirit. And Dizzy is the kind of a fellow who says, give me that ball. He's the kind of a man who thinks he may be knocked out in the first inning, where he might go out and pitch a 9-inning shutout. But whatever happens, you can bet old Diz will give everything that he has. Dean's record for the year, interrupted by long spells, is 7 games won and 1 game lost against 18 victories and 12 defeats for Gomez. The umpires for today's game are Coles of the American League at the plate, Sears of the National League at first, Hubbard of the American League at second, and Moran of the National League over at third base. Now, we understand that the outbreak of temperament displayed by Lou Gehrig in the 8th inning of that first game yesterday was quite a big surprise to everyone who knows him, because he is not given to making demonstrations against umpires' decisions, such as he staged on that instance when he seemed just on the verge of taking a swing at somebody. Gehrig's mates explained that Lou must have been firmly convinced in his own mind that he was right, or he never would have acted that way. The thing was, the count was 3-2 on him. He started to swing at the next pitch, but saw that it was a low hook, and he pulled back the swing and got what he thought was a base on balls. But instantly, Gabby Hartnett whirled, and umpire Moran yelled foul tip, just as Gabby caught the ball, and he yelled strike 3. Now, Moran agreed with Hartnett that it was a foul tip, and he called strike 3 on Gehrig, who by that time was jogging on his way down to first base. The minute Gehrig turned his back and started toward first, umpire Moran had his hands up in the air, and his fingers stuck out, 3 of them in the right hand, but he did not call until Gehrig had gone down probably 5 or 6 feet toward first. Of course, Gehrig's protest was useless, because he was protesting on a decision that involved an umpire's judgment. There was no use in protesting in a case of that sort. The photographers have been down on the field literally by the hundreds today. We understand yesterday that at one time there were 60 or 70 of them down there. But in some way, apparently, some of these boys who are candid camera fiends have gone down there and sort of wiggled out of the field and commenced to take pictures all over the place. They're thinning out now, so that there are probably not more than 25 or 30 of them down there. Most of them, right at the present time, are taking pictures of Dizzy Dean as he warms up, and the others were, for a while, taking pictures over near the first base dugout, where Gomez is warming up. There will never be any kick from either team as to white shirts in the background out there in the center field bleachers. That's the one thing that the home team and the visiting teams howled about this year, was the fact that it was pretty tough to try to see that ball coming from an overhand pitch if the pitcher was more than 4 feet high, because of the white shirts out there for a background. But today, with the temperature down where it is, everybody has on either a coat or a top coat or a sweater of some kind. And as far as that's concerned, if there were white shirts out there, it'd be just the same for the home team as it would for the visiting team, and vice versa. And while we're speaking of ifs, there are a lot of ifs in baseball, and of course there were a lot of ifs yesterday. A lot of people said last night, as we talked to them in the drugstore in our building, if such and such a thing had happened, the Cubs would have won. Well, the main point I told them is that if the Cubs had got more runs than the Yankees, they would have won. There were a lot of ifs in the ball game, but that is what is known as second guessing. And we don't do any second guessing out of this booth. You can if all you want to, but there's no sense in it, because the ball game is in the records. There's a Yankee win. The only thing to do is to say that if the Cubs get more runs today, they'll win. And that's a first guess. It's not a second guess. It's very easy to tell what you would have done. The ball just thrown back now by Jimmy O'Day hit Dizzy Dean on his gloved hand, and he yanked the glove off quickly and looked at his finger. One of his fingers on the left hand apparently was injured a little bit, but he's right back in there warming up and is not paying any attention to it. The band has swung into formation, flags in front, the band facing toward the north and east, near the flagpole, just in front of the center field bleachers. Right out there We see the boys are getting ready for the flag-raising ceremony, which will be held, of course, in just a few moments before the ball game starts. The umpires have come out of the first base dugout and are down there in the Yankee dugout, each of them stopping to take a drink of water out of that little water fountain that's down in the corner. Here come the umpires out on the field, and when the umpires come up, that means that it isn't going to be very long before the official lineups will be handed in, and that the boys will start playing ball. And as long as the umpires are going to find out who's playing in this ball game, I think it's only right that you should find out who's playing in this ball game, too. And you will in just a moment. But first, I'd like to say that this broadcast of the World Series game between the Chicago Cubs and the New York Yankees is coming to you from Wrigley Field, Chicago. We pause for station identification.
This is the WBBM Air Theater, Wrigley Building, Chicago.
The national anthem is being played, ladies and gentlemen. We pause for that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the proceedings will be taken over for the lineups in the ball game by John Harrington. Take it, John.
Thank you very much, and ladies and gentlemen, let me announce at this time that Pat Flanagan and I will share this microphone to bring you the play-by-play broadcast of today's game from out here at Wrigley Field, the home of the Cubs in Chicago, the second game of the 1938 World Series. Here are the lineups for today. By the New York Yankees, Crossetti at shortstop, Rolfe at third base, Henrich in right field, DiMaggio in center field, Gehrig at first base, Dickey, the catcher, Selkirk in left field, Gordon at second base, and Gomez, the pitcher. For the Chicago Cubs, we have a bit of a changed lineup here, although at the start it's exactly the same as it was yesterday. Hack is the leadoff man, the third baseman, Herman at second base, Demery, who played in left, is over in right field, Marty is in center field, he was not in the game yesterday, Reynolds is in left field, he played in center yesterday, Hartnett is the catcher, Collins at first base, Jurgens at shortstop, and Dean is the pitcher. Bill Gehrig has turned in the lineups for the New York Yankees. Billy Herman has turned them in for the Chicago Cubs. The groundkeepers are practically finished with the infield. They've got it down smooth so that there isn't even a pebble showing any place, and it looks just exactly like the top of the billiard table, only the color is just a little bit different. The color being a dusty red out here at Wrigley Field. Incidentally, it's an interesting story, the way they get the red color, which goes along with the color scheme of the ballpark. Those red cinders are, the red color in the infield is derived because of red cinders which are ground and pulverized, so they're just as fine as dust. They're mixed with the dirt in the infield, and they give that red effect to the infield, which gives an even better position for a ball which is bouncing to an infield. Let me give you the results of yesterday's game as far as the averages, the batting averages of the boys are concerned, who are going to come up in this game today. Crossetti, the first man up for the Yankees, batted .250 in the first game of the 1938 World Series, which was, as you know, played yesterday afternoon, and which the New York Yankees won by a score of 3-1. Batting orders are being given out here now from the field officially. We've already given them to you. The ball players are going out there. The Cubs have taken the playing field with Hack at third, Jurgens at short, Herman at second, Collins at first, Hartnett as the catcher. Dizzy Dean is going to be the pitcher in the second game with Reynolds in left field, Marty in center, Emery in right. Rolfe, the second man in the lineup for the Yankees, batted .200 in yesterday's game. That's his batting average thus far for the 1938 World Series. Henrich batted .500. DiMaggio had no hits. He has a batting average of absolutely nothing. Gehrig batted .333. Bill Dickey batted 1,000. Selkirk .250 and Gordon .500. Gomez, who is pitching in the game today for the New York Yankees, has won 18 and lost 12, while Dizzy Dean has won 7 and lost 1. Hack's batting average in the World Series, the first game of the World Series of 38, was .750. Herman .250. Demery nothing. Marty did not play yesterday. Reynolds had no average at all. Hartnett batted .333, Collins .333, and Jurgens .3. So there you have the batting averages for yesterday's game, the first game of the 1938 World Series, which we are bringing you from Wrigley Field. Dizzy Dean has finished his warm-up. The throw has gone out to second base from Gabby Hartnett to Billy Herman. Billy Herman to Jurgens, Jurgens to Hack, and back to Dean. And the umpire and back at the plate umpire, Coles, has hollered batter up. The umpires are Coles back at the plate, Sears at first, Hubbard at second, and Moran is over at third. Crossetti in the batter's box, facing Dizzy Dean. second game of the 1938 World Series. There's the windup, and here's the first pitch of this game. Comes in for a strike over the outside corner. Came in right at the waist. Strike one. A curveball, which came in the waist high, broke over the outside corner of the plate. Is he getting a sign again? Yesterday, the first man up, Crossetti, struck out. Let's see what he does today. There's the windup, and here's the next pitch. And Crossetti swings, hits a high fly ball out into left field. Kyle Reynolds goes back near the wall. He's back almost against it and takes the ball for the out. Reynolds playing out of left field, went back almost to the wall out there, about 370 feet away from home plate, and took the ball in his glove as it came down very easily for an out. A high fly. That brings Red Rolfe up to the plate. Red Rolfe, the third baseman for the New York Yankees, and the left-hand hitter stepping in the batter's box. Score of the ball game, of course, is 0-0. The Yankees won the first game yesterday by a score of 3-1. There's the windup, and here's the pitch. Rolfe bunts the ball. It's down the first baseline. Diaz is going over to cover, tosses the ball to Collins. He's out. Dean to Collins for the put-up. 2 up and 2 down. Dean went over, fielded that ball very beautifully, kept running until he overtook the rolling ball, scooped it up with his left hand, tossed it with his left hand to Collins, and he was out at first base. That brings Tommy Henrich up to the plate. He's the right fielder for the New York Yankees and another left-hand hitter. Tommy Henrich stepping in the batter's box. Gabby goes into a crouch down there in back of the plate. Gives a sign to Dizzy Dean. Diz starts his wind-up, and here's the pitch to Henrich, and it's a ball on the inside. He dusts him off a little bit, shoving him away from the plate. It's ball 1. 2 down, nobody on the bases. The first half of the first inning. There's the wind-up by Diz, the pitch, and it's a strike right over the heart of the plate. Sidearm fastball, which came over their waist high. Ball 1 and strike 1 the count. There's the wind-up by Diz. Here's the pitch. A slow ball comes in too high for ball 2, making the count 2-1. Ball 2 and strike 1 to Tommy Henrich. Gabby says something to Dizzy. Dizzy grins. Looks in at Gabby, getting it signed again. There's the wind-up, and here's the next one. And the ball is hit for a high fly again. This time it's in the short, right or left side of field. Jergers is going back, is getting under it, and he takes the ball for the out. Jergers goes back and gets under it in left side of field for the out. No run, no hit, no errors, no one left on the bases. Dizzy Dean has pitched 1 inning of baseball. He has not allowed a man to get to first base. Going into the last half of the first inning, we're going to have Hack, Herman, and Demery as the first 3 men up for the Chicago Cubs. Second game of the 1938 World Series between the Cubs and the New York Yankees, coming to you from Wrigley Field, the home of the Cubs in Chicago. First 2 games will come to you, of course, from Wrigley Field, and the next 3 will come to you from New York. Hack, the third baseman, is going to be the first man up, batted .750 in yesterday's game. He was the hardest hitter for the Chicago Cubs in the first game of the World Series. Herman, the second man up, batted .250, and Demery, the third man up, did not get a hit in yesterday's ball game and therefore has no batting average. Vernon Goofy Gomez is out there on the mound. He's warming up and throwing them in to Bill Dickey back at the plate. Dickey, incidentally, had a batting average of 1,000 in yesterday's ball game for the New York Yankees. Gomez, eccentric, Dean eccentric. Hard to pick the one who is more eccentric of these 2 pitchers. But Gomez is out there on the mound, and he receives the ball from Red Rolfe, the third baseman, and Stanley Hack steps in the batter's box, and the cheer goes up from this very partisan crowd here, of course, Cubs fans galore in the ballpark this afternoon. The last half of the first inning. Yankees nothing and the Cubs nothing, and Stan Hack, the first batter for the Cubs, is up. Gomez getting a sign from Dickey. He has it. Here's the pitch, and it's a ball. Low and on the outside for ball 1. Curve ball which missed the outside corner. Umpire Coles back in the plate in today's game. Gomez getting a sign from Dickey. Dickey comes up out of the crouch. There's the wind-up, and the pitch. It's a strike. It came in shoulder high over the heart of the plate, a fastball. Ball 1 and strike 1 the count. 1-1 to Stanley Hack. Gomez getting a sign from Dickey. Dickey comes up out of that crouch again. The wind-up at the same time. The pitch, and the same pitch is thrown in as the first pitch, and it's a ball low and on the outside. Ball 2, making the count 2-1. The first one was a low curve on the outside. The second one a fastball about shoulder high. And this one, the same as the first one, another low curve ball on the outside, making the count 2-1 to Stan Hack. Ball 2 and strike 1. Hack, the first batter up for the Cubs. The pitch, the ball is hit up the left field for a base hit. Hack singles to left field. The ball being taken out there by the left fielder, thrown into second base. It goes in from Selkirk to Gordon, and Hack goes up at first base with a base hit. Hack singled the first time up in yesterday's game. He's doing the same thing today. Hack on first base with the first hit of the ball game. That's 1 hit off Goofy Gomez, the pitcher for the New York Yankees. Hack is on first base. The batter coming up there now is Billy Herman, who batted .250 in yesterday's game. Billy Herman up. Here's the pitch. He swings and misses for a strike. Strike 1. Swung on a hard fastball on the outside corner about shoulder high. Strike 1 the count. Stanley Hack down on first base. Down on first base. Billy Herman down on first base. Billy Herman the batter, nobody out. The last half of the first inning, and the Yankees and the Cubs 0-0. As a stretch, here's the pitch. A ball wide. Ball 1, making the count 1-1. Ball 1 and strike 1 to Billy Herman with Stan Hack down on first. Here's the next pitch from Gomez, and it's high and outside for a ball. Ball 2, making the count 2-1. Ball 2 and strike 1 the count. Gomez taking just a bit more time as he pitches to Billy Herman than when he was pitching those first 3 to Stanley Hack. Now he's ready, stretches, looks toward first. A very fast delivery. The ball is fouled back into the screen in back of the plate for strike 2, making the count 2-2 to Bill Herman. Ball 2 and strike to the count. Getting run evidently was on that time because Hack was way down towards second by the time he found out that the ball had been fouled back into the screen. He's gone back to first base. Ball 2 and strike to the count to Billy Herman. Nobody out. The last half of the first inning, and Gomez getting a sign from Dickey. Hack is on first base. The stretch and the pitch. A swing and a miss. He strikes him out. Herman goes down, striking out, swinging at a curveball way outside. That's the first strikeout of the ball game for either pitcher. Gomez striking out Billy Herman. And now we have Frank Demery stepping in the batter's box. Demery, the right fielder in today's game, was the left fielder in yesterday's game. Playing right field for the Cubs. The man on first, here's the pitch, and he hits the ball out to right field. It's a base hit. Hack was on his way with the pitch. He rounds second. He's going down to third, and the play is close, but not close enough. And the ball gets away momentarily from Red Rolf, and Demery goes down to second base. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you again, the crowd was roaring so loud that I didn't want to try to give you the description over again until they had sort of settled down. Hack was on first base. Demery singled to right field. Hack rounded second and went right down to third. The throw came in from the right fielder, and it's going to be an error on the third baseman, Red Rolf, which allowed Demery to get down to second base. Demery gets a single and goes to second on the error. Hack is on third. There's only one out, and the batter coming up is Marty. Marty was not in yesterday's game. So Marty, as far as the World Series of 1938 is concerned, is an unknown product. He's stepping in the batter's box, a right-hand hitter, 2 runners on the bases, 1 down. Both those runners are in scoring position. It's the last half of the first inning. Stanley Hack on third base, Frankie Demery on second. Gomez starts his windup, and here's the pitch now to Marty. Marty gets a strike. It came in just above the knees, and over the heart of the plate, a fastball for strike 1. There's 1 down, 2 runners on the bases. Joe Marty is the batter. Count on him is strike 1. The last half of the first inning. Hack on third, Demery on second. The pitch, the ball is fouled into the right field stands. Way back in the lower deck in back of the Yankee dugout. Goes back about 30 rows in the lower deck. Strike 2 is the count to Joe Marty. Marty is a right-hand hitter. One of the reasons he's in that lineup today. Cavarado, left-hand hitter, has been taken out because of the left-hand pitcher pitching for the Yankees. There's the windup, and the next pitch to Marty is a ball way high. It almost got away from Dickey. Dickey went up in the air after that one, but he came down with the ball there by holding those 2 runners on the bases. Hack is on third. Demery is on second. Hack singled, Demery singled, and error sent Demery down to second base. The single had sent Hack to third. Already there's the windup by Gomez. The pitch.
One away. Joe Marty up for his first World Series at bat. Steps up, swings, foul, tips it back off Dickey's mask. And it's still 1-2. Joe walks out of batter's box. Sort of bobbing his head in a duck-like motion as to say, that was the pitch, that was the pitch. It was a fast one, smoking right down in. Gomez trying to get out of this first inning jam. Pitches a low inside curve at the knees for ball 2. And it's 2-2. That's the sharpest breaking ball that Gomez has thrown so far. Joe Marty, leaning over the plate, right-handed hitter, swings, grounds it into the dirt right by his feet. The ball rolls foul and is declared dead right there in batter's box, left side of the plate. 2-2 to Joe Marty. Gomez looking up into the sky. The sun is breaking through now. It's going to be a grand afternoon as far as the weather's concerned, even though it's pretty chilly. Now the pitch is swung on, fouled back into the netting as the duel continues between the World Series veteran, Lefty Gomez, left-handed mound star of the New York Yankees, and Joe Marty up for his first World Series at bat. First base open. The outfield is around toward left. They play Marty to pull somewhat. So it takes high outside for ball 3. And Gomez is now even with him at 3-2. The count is at its fullest. 3-2. Dickey and his crowd.
Going down deep in the left field. It's going against the wall, but it's taken by DiMaggio on a swell play. 1 run scores. Marty is up. That ball went way back against the left field wall, 372 feet away from home plate. DiMaggio went over, played the ball beautifully, jumped high in the air against the wall, and caught it in his glove. After the catch was made, 1 run scored as Hack came home from third base for the first run of the ball game, and Demery went down from second to third. So Demery is on third base with 2 out. Marty going out to DiMaggio on a beautiful play on the part of that Joe DiMaggio out there in center field. That brings Reynolds up to the plate. Carl Reynolds, the left fielder, Played in center yesterday and didn't have a base hit, is up there in the second game of the World Series. The Cubs leading 1-0 over the New York Yankees. There's the windup, and here's the pitch, a ball. High on the outside for ball one. Ball on the cut. Carl Reynolds is the batter. Gomez gets his sign. There's the windup, and here's the pitch, and Reynolds hits a high foul into the right field stands for strike one, making the count 1-1. 1-1 the count. Carl Reynolds the batter with 2 out, and another run down there on third base for those Cubs. Cubs and the Yankees playing the second game of the 1938 World Series. The Cubs are leading by a score of 1-0 over the Yankees. Carl Reynolds the batter. There's the windup by Gomez, the pitch, and it's a strike over the outside corner for strike 2. It came in waist high, making the count 1-2. Ball 1 and strike 2 to Reynolds. Demley has gone back and is standing right on the third base cushion. Now he starts taking a little lead off third. Rolfe is playing back in his regular position. Gomez starts his windup. The next pitch comes into Reynolds. Reynolds hits another foul back into the screen and back of the plate. Count remains 1-2. Ball 1 and strike 2 the count to Reynolds. The last half of the first inning with the Cubs leading the Yankees 1-0. Gomez getting a sign. Becky crouched down and back of the plate, passes him the sign. He starts a long swinging windup. Here's the pitch. Reynolds swings and misses and strikes out on a change of baseball. A slow pitch which came in on the inside. He swings and strikes out for the second strikeout for Gomez. The side is retired in the last half of the first inning with 1 run, 2 hits, 1 error, 1 man left on the bases. Gomez has pitched 1 inning, allowed 2 hits, struck out 2 men, allowed 1 run to score. He's had up 1 error in back of him on the part of his Yankee infield. Red Rolfe getting the error as the throw got away from him there at third base, allowing Demery to go down to second. The score second inning in favor of the Chicago Cubs over the New York Yankees, and the man, DiMaggio, will be the first man to bat against Dizzy Dean in the second inning of the second game of the 1938 World Series. The New York Yankees won yesterday's game by a score of 3-1 over the Chicago Cubs. Cubs are leading 1-0 at the end of the first inning of the second game. DiMaggio, the center fielder, steps in the batter's box. He batted absolutely nothing yesterday. He had no batting average. Didn't have a hit. DiMaggio's in the batter's box. A right-hand hitter, a powerful hitter. Dizzy Dean starts his windup, and time is called. Time is called as manager McCarthy of the New York Yankees calls attention to one of the umpires that there's a gate open in the wall. And so the umpire down there at first base, Sears, walks over and shuts the gate. Gate is now shut. Manager McCarthy is ready to let the ball game go on. That's one of those things that is covered by a ground rule. That gate must be kept shut, leading into the right field stand. Now we're set again. Dizzy Dean is getting a sign from Gabby all over again. DiMaggio standing in the batter's box is waiting for that first pitch. There's the windup, and here it comes. It's a ball wide. Ball 1. Again, that sidearm delivery. A curve which went wide to the plate. Dean starts his windup immediately. Here's the next one. A slow ball thrown right over the heart of the plate from DiMaggio for strike 1. It came in there waist high. Making the count 1-1. Ball 1 and strike 1. 1-1 the count. Gabby crouched down and back of the plate, gives Diz the sign again. Puts that glove up for a target. Here's a slow ball. It's hit out into left field, foul by about 4 feet down the left field foul line for strike 2, making the count 1-2. You could almost see the seams on that ball as it was pitched in. It was a very slow one. DiMaggio tried to time himself for it, but still swung a little bit early and fouled the ball down the left field foul line, pulling it down there. Ball 1 and strike 2 the count. Joe DiMaggio the batter. There's the windup, and here's the pitch by Dizzy Dean. The ball is hit for a line drive smash over Billy Jerger's head out to left center field. It's going to be a single. DiMaggio pulls up at first base. The ball is fielded by Marty. Thrown in to the second baseman, gets by Billy Herman, but it's taken by Collins, who is backing up Herman on the play. So it's a single by DiMaggio out there to left center field. That's the first hit for DiMaggio in the 1938 World Series, and the first hit off Dizzy Dean. Batter coming up there now is Columbia Lou Gehrig, the first baseman for the Yankees. Gehrig up with a man on base, nobody out. There's a stretch by Dean, the pitch, and a ball. Low on the outside for ball 1. Ball on the count to Lou Gehrig, a left-hand hitter. Dean getting a sign from Hartnett. He has it, looks over at first. Here's the pitch, and a ball. Pitched wide and high for ball 2. Ball 2 to Lou Gehrig, and the pitchers are starting to warm up down in the bullpen for the Chicago Cubs. Jack Russell and Larry French have gone down in the bullpen to warm up. There's a stretch to look toward first again, the pitch, and a swing and a miss by Gehrig on a slow ball for strike 1. Ball 2 and strike 1 the count. Gehrig swung and missed. So the count on him now is ball 2 and strike 1. Dean standing very complacently out there on the mound, looks over at first base at Joe DiMaggio, who has a pretty good lead off first base. Stretches, looks over his shoulder again at DiMaggio. Here's the pitch, another slow ball comes in there for ball 3, high. Making the count 3-1. Ball 3 and strike 1 to Lou Gehrig. First baseman for the Yankees and the second man up in the first half of the second inning. The Cubs are leading 1-0 over the Yankees at the present time, but the Yanks have a man on first base. There's Lou Gehrig up. There's a stretch by Dean. Here's the pitch. It's a ball on the inside and high for ball 4, and he walks in. Gehrig goes down to first base, sending DiMaggio down to second. Nobody out, and the batter coming up there now is Dickey. Bill Dickey is coming up to the plate. He batted 1,000 yesterday. He had a perfect day at bat in the first game of the 38 series as he batted 1,000 yesterday. Bill Dickey stepping in the batter's box. The catcher for the New York Yankees is another left-hand hitter. Gehrig on first base, DiMaggio on second. Nobody out in the first half of the second inning. Dickey finally discovers he has a long bat. So the Yankee bat boy goes over and gets a bat, and also somebody tosses him a rosin bag. They're looking for the right bat for Dickey now, and it delays the ball game just momentarily. We have 2 runners on the bases. DiMaggio down on second base. Gehrig on first base. Nobody out. The first half of the second inning, and the Cubs are leading 1-0 over the Yankees at the present time. Yanks are putting on the pressure right now in the first half of the second. Dickey coming up to the plate is one of their power hitters. They have 2 of the power hitters on base, one of whom walked, one of whom singled. DiMaggio getting a single to left center. Gehrig walking, and Dickey is up. As a stretch by Dean, the look towards second. The pitch, the ball is hit for a very high fly ball into short left field. Billy Jurgis is going back after it, and Reynolds came in for it, but Jurgis took the ball for the out. Jurgis going back into short left field. DiMaggio held second base, and Gehrig held first, of course, on the play. So there's 1 down, 2 men on the bases. George Selkirk, the left fielder, is coming up, and it's the first half of the second inning, and the Cubs are leading 1-0. Selkirk, the left fielder, and a left-hand hitter is stepping in the batter's box. Twinkle toes Selkirk. Dean getting a sign from Hartnett. There's a stretch. The look toward DiMaggio at second and first toward Gehrig. The pitch, and it's fouled off to the right of the plate and down toward the Yankee dugout. Fielded down there by the bat boy and thrown out of the game. It goes for strike 1. A new ball has gone in. Umpire Coles giving it to Hartnett. Hartnett out to Desi Dean. DiMaggio on second base. Gehrig on first. Selkirk, the batter, with 1 away. First half of the second inning. There's a stretch. The look toward second. The pitch, and it's a ball. A little bit wide for ball 1, making the count 1-1. Ball 1 and strike 1 the count. First half of the second inning, Dizzy Dean pitching for the Chicago Cubs. Goofy Gomez pitching for the New York Yankees. The pitch, the ball is hit for a high pop fly ball into short right field. Demery is coming in on the dead run, but it's being taken by Marty, and the runners hold their bases. Marty saw was a swell into Jurgis at shortstop. Jurgis cut off the throw. Marty came in beautifully and took that ball. It was out in the right center field. Hit out there by Selkirk, a high fly. The wind, which is blowing in from center field, held it up, and Marty and Demery both had to run plenty hard and fast to get under that ball. They were both there, but Marty took it. Both runners holding their bases, so we still have DiMaggio on second base, Gehrig on first, 2 out, and Gordon is coming up. Gordon had a 500 batting average for yesterday's game. In other words, every other time officially up, he had a base hit. Here's the pitch, and it's a ball, a little bit wide, ball 1. Ball 1 the count. There's Dean getting a sign from Gabby Hartnett. 2 runners around the bases. They're holding it up. They're calling time now for a moment. And Marty is coming in for some sunglasses. Marty is coming in for sunglasses as time is called in the ball game. Vito, the bat boy for the Cubs, has gone out to take those dark glasses out to Joe Marty. The sun came peeping through for a moment, but again has gone behind a cloud. But there's a little bit more blue sky than we saw when the game started today. Clouds seem to be splitting up there, and we may have some sunshine before the afternoon is over. There's Dean ready to pitch now to Joe Gordon, the second baseman for the Yankees, who has to count a ball 1. There are 2 out, 2 men on the bases. DiMaggio down in second, and Gehrig on first. The pitch, a ball outside and high, a fastball for ball 2. Ball 2 the count to Gordon. Gordon swings his bat, once or twice for timing. Gets a firmer footing there in the batter's box. Here's the pitch from Dean. A slow ball is fouled. Back into the screen and back into the plate for strike 1. Dean went through the same motion as he does when he throws a fastball. He seemed to catch Gordon off stride a bit. The ball is fouled back into the screen and back into the plate for a strike, making the count 2-1. Ball 2 and strike 1 to Gordon. 2 men on the bases. DiMaggio down in second, Gehrig on first. The pitch, the ball is hit for a high foul into the left field stands. It may go into the upper deck, it may fall into the lower. It goes into the upper deck. Among the spectators up there, we again have a packed house, of course, out here at Wrigley Field. Count now on Gordon is ball 2 and strike 2. 2-2 the count. 2 out. First half of the second inning, and the Cubs are leading 1-0 over the Yankees at the present time. There's a stretch by Dean. The look towards second and first. The pitch, and it's a ball wide of the plate by a foot or 2. While ball 3 making the count 3-2. Ball 3 and strike 2 the count. Oh, here's that 3-2 pitch again. Dean steps down off the mound. Gehrig starts back for first base. But DiMaggio looking around sees that there's nobody to cover second, so he stays in the same spot. He has a lead of about 15 feet. Gehrig is off the bag by about the same distance. There's a stretch by Dean. The look towards second and first. The slow ball is thrown in. It's hit down just to the right of Dean. Jurgis comes in, fields the ball. It goes right between two of them. Jurgis and Hack. Hack and Jurgis both came after the ball. It goes out into left field. 2 runs are scoring easily. DiMaggio and Gehrig both scoring. And he gets down to second base. We don't know whether it's an error or a base hit, but it looks to me as if neither one of those men touched the ball. It's a 2-base hit.